Jason, thank you so much for everything. I felt you went above and beyond throughout the whole process. I would be very honored if you would attend my graduation. Invited also as everyone who helped with my case. If you need directions, you know my number. Thanks. Hope to see you soon, Ashley.
As Ashley Kubitz's grateful letter ended one chapter in her life, it began another in the amazing and long-lasting friendship that continues to this day between Jason Abraham, one of Milwaukee's finest personal injury attorneys, and Ashley, then a Whitewater High School senior and star softball pitcher. It all began one dark and rainy night on November 15, 2005, on Highway P in the little town of Richmond, Wisconsin, when Michael Turner, a 50-year-old very drunk driver with a blood alcohol content of double the legal limit, swerved across the highway in his big Ford pickup truck and slammed directly head-on into the 17-year-old Ashley's small little car with catastrophic results. Trapping her legs in excruciating pain in the car, severing her leg artery in her left leg, which deprived it of life-sustaining blood she desperately needed. Ashley clung on courageously while the medics rushed her to the hospital. Her injuries were so severe that the doctors had to amputate her leg halfway from the hip to her knee, and effectively ended her career dreams of being a softball star. Turner was hauled off to jail, and one more tragic alcohol-related drunk driver accident was added to the approximately 630,000 people injured in alcohol-related crashes every year. That's an average of one person injured approximately every minute of every day of every year, year in and year out. About 30,000 people a year will suffer permanent work-related disabilities just like Ashley. Every weekday night from 10 p.m. to 1 a.m., 1 in 13 drivers is drunk with a blood alcohol content of 0.08 or more. And between 1 a.m. and 6 a.m. on weekday mornings, 1 in 7 drivers are drunk. More Americans have died in alcohol-related traffic crashes than in all the wars the United States has been involved with since the country was founded. Drunk driving is the nation's most frequently committed violent crime. Today, the Insider Exclusive presents the true story and the miraculous courage of Ashley Kubicz and how Jason Abraham and the law firm of Hupy and Abraham got justice for Ashley and has earned the highest respect from citizens and lawyers alike as one of the best plaintiff trial lawyers in Wisconsin and in the nation. Hi, I'm Steve Murphy, and this is the Insider Exclusive, live from Milwaukee, Wisconsin at the Hupy and Abraham Law Firm. It's my great pleasure to introduce Jason Abraham. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
This case of Ashley Kubicz is a rather interesting case because you had a young 17-year-old, great student, star softball pitcher, coming home from school. Tell our audience what happened exactly.
You know, it's a real tragedy. It's a young lady, as you talked about, really in the prime of her high school life, getting ready to go on to college and enjoy that aspect of her life, when all of a sudden her life changes as a result of a drunk driver.
And what happened exactly?
Well, she's going after school to get some school shoes, ironically,
yeah.
And she's driving on a rural highway, and at that time she's confronted with a drunk driver who loses control of his vehicle, goes into her lane, and there's just a catastrophic collision.
Mm-hmm. And he hit her with a rather large truck, and she had a small car, right?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, the damage to her vehicle was such that she ended up having to be cut out of the car. Right before the accident happened, she was actually talking to her mom on the cell phone, so her mom actually heard the collision as well.
And the phone was still in operation when the accident happened?
It was. Her mom was on the line, and the phone unfortunately went dead.
Yeah.
And then the mom was frantically trying to call her back at the time.
Now, when they cut her out of the car, they cut her out of the car because her legs were trapped in there, weren't they?
Yeah, actually, one of her legs was trapped. The leg that she ended up losing in this accident, the collision was just so violent that leg ended up out of the car after the accident, but her right leg was stuck inside the vehicle, and she actually had to be cut out of the car.
So one leg was severed? in the car?
It wasn't severed in the car. It was stuck because the dashboard came in on top of her. But the leg that ultimately had to be removed following the accident was actually outside of the car. The damage was so great, although it was still attached, it ended up being outside the vehicle.
Now, what happened after that?
The ambulance people and fire department took a substantial amount of time to get her out. At the scene of the accident, the other driver at first denied that he had consumed any beverage. She was taken to a local hospital. When they realized that they couldn't treat the severity of her injuries, she was flighted to a more trauma hospital.
Yeah, we're going to have her and her mother on a little later on, but that must have been a traumatic decision, in amputating her leg.
As a parent, when I thought about this myself, this case was near and dear to me because I have a daughter.
Yeah.
And when I read Ashley's impact statement that she sent to the court before the defendant's sentencing, she said that was the first time she ever saw her dad cry when he had to sign his name on the piece of paper to take her leg.
Right. That is really tragic. What happened to the driver?
The driver was charged with substantial injury by intoxicated use of a motor vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
He went through the court process, was ultimately found guilty. He pled guilty. He received 3 years in prison and then 5 years of extended supervision after that.
And hopefully he'll stop drinking. Huh?
You hope. In this case, they actually found out that what he was drinking was Listerine. He had to be a serious alcoholic to be getting drunk on Listerine.
In this state, they take your blood alcohol content in any accident, don't they? If they think you've been drinking.
They do.
So it's pretty cut and dry. The guy was, 0.15 or something like that?
Yeah, he denied drinking, and then when they put him in the ambulance, the officer could smell what he thought was an intoxicant.
Yeah.
They had him blow into something called a PBT, a preliminary breath test, and that showed a 0.15.
In this particular case, when he was insured?
He was.
Okay. When the insurance isn't enough to cover all of the medical expenses, because the medical expenses were pretty extensive, right?
Yes, they were hundreds of thousands of dollars.
You really take, as I saw before the show, you really take a personal interest in your clients.
Oh, I absolutely do. These aren't just cases, they're clients to me.
Yeah.
Since this accident's happened, I still have contact with Ashley. That's the way I am with a lot of my clients. I invest a lot of emotion in every one of these cases.
At the beginning of this show, we have Ashley reading a letter that she invited you to her graduation because she was about to graduate, and I found it very moving. That's why we started the show with this, because it's something I don't see that often, that relationship between the lawyer and the client. You really care for them.
I really do. Ashley will always be near and dear to me. Obviously, it was a young woman that really in the prime of her life lost her leg as a result of a drunk driver. This drunk driving is an epidemic in our society today. It's something that, means a lot to me. And the fact that she was, very thankful for the services I provided, even though she was entitled to a lot more money that I could get for her.
Yeah.
I was very proud of the fact that she believed I'd gone above and beyond.
Yeah, so the audience knows a little bit more about Ashley since you know her so well, and she's going to be on shortly. Tell us a little bit about Ashley.
She's just a dynamic young woman. What struck me about Ashley when I met her the first time in the hospital following her accident was just her smile. I can tell you, if it was me laying in the hospital after my leg had to be amputated 2 days after this accident, you sure wouldn't see me smiling. And when she still talks to MAD groups right now, she still has a smile on her face. It's infectious. She's always happy. She was a star athlete in softball in high school. She was someone that was ready to take the world by storm, as we all were when we were entering college. And she's someone I'm very proud to have represented. And when I attended her graduation, I was so proud of her that I actually brought my young daughter at the time so she could meet Ashley and see Ashley, because I would talk about her, and she knew that she was an important person in my life, so I wanted my daughter to be able to see, this positive attitude.
Yeah, she's courageous.
She really is courageous.
Yeah, it's great. You talked about a drunk driving epidemic. I think MAD was established when? Back in the 80s?
I believe it's the 80s.
And really, there's a lot of people still killed on the road, aren't there?
It's frightening how many times I have to represent people that are injured by drunk drivers. Unfortunately, a number of years ago, one of my employees was killed by a drunk driver. Mm-hmm. I was asked by the family to testify at that sentencing, and I'm happy to say at that time the judge gave the second stiffest penalty that anyone had received in the state of Wisconsin for drunk driving. this is an issue that's near and dear to me,
Yeah.
Not only because of what I've had to go through with an employee, but what I've had to go through on a daily basis with my clients. It's something that's preventable. It's something that shouldn't happen. And I feel compelled to try to make a difference.
Yeah, you know, there have been, over the years, automakers that have devices in their car that if they smell, you know, if they detect alcohol in the car, it won't start.
Right.
Why hasn't any of this stuff caught on to prevent more alcohol-related deaths and accidents?
Unfortunately, that what you're talking about is ignition interlock.
Yeah.
You know, and unfortunately, they only put those in cars when someone becomes like a 3-time offender. And you know, I don't know why people don't do more. I mean, I don't know why after the second or the first offense, we're not taking more stringent measures to prevent drunk driving, because I really do believe it's an epidemic. You know, unfortunately, we're reading in the papers every day about someone else that's killed, someone on their 5th, 6th, 7th offense. I mean, it's just ridiculous, and more needs to be done to prevent this.
Now, in this case, you settled the case before you went to trial.
We did.
It's unusual that an insurance company will settle a case so quickly. Why did they do in this case?
Well, in this case, they could see the dramatic impact this had on Ashley's life. They had very limited insurance, and they knew that we would take this case the distance.
Yeah.
I mean, we handle these cases every day, all day. You know, we try these cases all the time in court, so they knew we would dot every I and cross every T and make sure Ashley was protected.
Not to sound too promotional about your firm, but if you have a good law firm that has that kind of track record, the insurance companies know that they're really got a fight in their hand, don't they?
Well, we sure hope so. I mean, there's a reason why we take what we think more cases to trial in this state than anyone else, and that is because we want the insurance company to know that we mean business.
Yeah.
We're willing to take the case the whole way, and they need to know they better pay us and better pay us quick.
Excellent. We are fortunate to have Ashley and her mother here right now. We're going to bring Ashley on right now.